Hello, welcome back to 30 Days of Mania, WrestleMania 29.
I poked myself in the eye doing that.
That's it, we're done. It's not that bad, seriously. The times that we've done these videos and I've turned the light away from you, it looks like you're in the dark ages. It's awful.
I like the dark ages.
Right, so WrestleMania 29. As you can hear, John Cena theme music. And we all know what happened there. Now, there was an opening song. There was a big kind of Hurricane Sandy thingy played at the beginning, kind of just to kind of talk about how amazing WrestleMania is. I thought that was a bit weird. I mean, I understand what they were doing, but it was just like, you know, this hurricane ravaged our country, but it just showed how great our spirit is, and how great the spirit of the New Yorkers are, and all the people in New Jersey, and that's why this is great. WrestleMania. I don't know, that's just me.
Be careful what you say there, because there are Americans watching this, probably.
Oh yeah, cool. No, I'm not saying anything bad against.
Nothing against.
It's to do with the way that.
It's just that it's about WrestleMania. They make it seem like WrestleMania is the reason why everything is awesome.
That's the thing, yeah. And
Don't misunderstand.
That's the WWE. Vince McMahon is very patriotic, and I think it goes a bit overboard sometimes. But I'm not discounting anything. It was just I don't know. When they flashed up the WrestleMania logo over like all the Hurricane Sandy stuff, I was like, you know. Well, no, it wasn't over that. It was over the arena, but whatever.
It made it seem like WrestleMania was the people who actually.
Yeah. Anyway.
Made things better.
Don't eat. Well,
I'm eating.
You're eating.
I am eating.
We've done 29 in these videos, and not once have I started eating something because I was that. It's true. Right. So we watched, what did we watch? We watched CM Punk vs. The Undertaker, obviously. Great match, great build-up. Well, you could argue how good the build-up was because of how controversial it was. The death of Paul Bearer played very heavily into the Undertaker-CM Punk feud, and one's got to wonder where would that feud have gone if Paul Bearer hadn't died, because it really seemed like the whole feud was built on the death of Paul Bearer. Because all it was Punk disrespecting him, taking the urn, you know, and all that kind of thing. And
CM Punk could have found something else to disrespect Undertaker about anyway.
Yeah,
it was CM Punk.
It worked. It got him over as a heel huge, and it was, you know, I mean, it even kind of bothered the family of Paul Bearer. You know, I forget, William Moody, I think his real name was. We'll just say Paul Bearer from now on. And they said that they were okay with the fact that his death was used in the storyline, but they didn't know, you know, how it was going to look, and they weren't really that thrilled with, you know, Punk taking the ashes, you know, that's supposed to be a Paul Bearer, and like rubbing them all over his head and like licking his fingers and stuff. It was very, very out there. I thought that was a bit too much, personally. But you know, the feud worked for what it was, and the match was fantastic. I loved it. Punk had Living Colour playing Cult Personality for his entrance. That was cool. Undertaker had a really cool entrance. It was almost like the kind of Walking Dead inspired, just like hands reaching out for him like zombies. And in fact, during the match, I think Cole said, "The Undertaker, the Walking Dead," and I was like, oh. It was a good match. It was a really good match. What did you think of it?
I don't know. It's I kind of feel like it's been stepping down every year since Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, you're not going to beat those matches.
No, and then him kicking out of the tombstone is like, really?
Yeah.
Everyone's going to do it from now on?
Yeah, I didn't like Punk kicking out of it. Because he's smaller, I guess, maybe. I don't know, I wasn't really a big fan of him kicking out of the tombstone, because it just gets to the point now where it's like, it's always going to happen.
And you can kind of tell when a tombstone is really sticking, because Undertaker sort of does this little jump when it's at the end. It's almost like, oh, I'm just going to give it my all now, wreck my knees, because I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah.
So he does a little, like, a little tiny jump before he goes down.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, yeah, that's it. But the first one that he did, it was kind of, he caught him or something and turned around. And
it was a really quick, I liked it. I thought it was a really cool little spot.
One motion.
Yeah, it was a cool spot where Punk hit him with the GTS, he bounced off the ropes and just picked him straight up into a tombstone. It was like a real desperation. And for that reason, I guess you can get away with it. It wasn't like a sort of, like he'd beaten Punk up and then hit him with a tombstone and then he kicked that. It was like an out of nowhere kind of thing. And we don't usually see the tombstone out of nowhere. So that
I'm
was
thinking,
cool.
if he already scattered the ashes all over Undertaker earlier, did it just like sweep it back in the urns? Is he still using it?
That's a good point.
You have hair on your nose.
I have hair on my nose. Well, it's okay. It's gone now anyway. I'm sure no one's watching us on like a full HD TV and could pick up that anyway. So, great match. And CM Punk.
It was good.
Mm-hmm. Well, you wouldn't say it was great.
It wasn't amazing.
Okay, I thought
But
it was really good.
It was good. It was not bad at all.
Not as good as,
but
you know.
It's not as memorable for me. Like right now, I'm like, what were the great things about it? Really?
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I'd say it's up there. Not as good as, say, the Hell in a Cell match with Triple H or obviously the two Shawn Michaels matches.
Yeah,
but
I think
I'd probably
just, you know.
I'd probably enjoy it more than, say, the Edge match, even, as much as I'm a fan of Edge, because the Edge Taker match, as great as it is, I always kind of forget what happens in it. And
yeah,
but this Punk one, I love the spot where he had him in the Anaconda Vice and Undertaker sat up and gave Punk the eyeball, and they were kind of linked together. It's just a really cool visual, really cool spot. Yeah. Oh, and I love the fact that Punk went for his running knee in the corner. Well, he hit it, and then Taker picked him up for the last ride. Because ever since WrestleMania 17, when Triple H did that, and I've counted, since then there have been 6 times that it's happened. Maybe 5 if you include that one as well. There's been 6 times it has happened. What?
I just got an itch.
You got an itch. 6 times at WrestleMania, someone has gone up onto the turnbuckle, the second rope, to do a 10 punch on the Undertaker, and then he catches him with the last ride, and it's just like,
only been 6, really?
the psychology of it just doesn't make sense to me. You would have, I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking this, but for me, you know, as the kind of fan I am, I would imagine that character who's facing the Undertaker would have watched all the WrestleMania matches, watched all of his tricks, and known that if you ever go for a 10 punch on the Undertaker at WrestleMania, he will pick you up for a last ride. But Punk, he did his running knee in the corner. It made sense, and that's where he caught him, and I like that because it wasn't just a gratuitous, I'm going to go for a 10 punch just so he can pick me up for the last ride. Okay, the main event, Triple H. John Cena, we didn't watch Triple H, Brock Lesnar, just, yeah. John Cena and The Rock, one more time.
Get enough of Brock Lesnar.
Now, John Cena and The Rock, we went into probably too much depth with yesterday's video about WrestleMania 28.
We'll try not to do that again today.
This year, well, last year, you know, WrestleMania 29 when it happened, it was very obvious that The Rock was going to come back, that he was going to win the WWE title, and that Cena was going to somehow challenge him at WrestleMania, and this was going to be the match where Cena would win and then take the title. It was very obvious, and
twice in a lifetime,
beat for beat, it happened. I think Rock said the night after WrestleMania 28, he says, I promise I'm going to come back and win the WWE title. As soon as he said that, I was like, why does he need to win the title? You know, I mean, I appreciate he's coming back and everything, but he doesn't need to win the championship, you know. And I think Rock's reasoning was he wanted to make it the biggest WrestleMania ever, and I think as far as the buy rate was concerned, it probably was. But
because it's all about him.
Yeah, well, I just, you know, I felt like it didn't need it. But what?
She's out.
Lily, our cat, is sleeping. Yes, what she always does.
I think everyone who's watching this has probably watched previous videos and they know by now who Lily is. And if you don't, shame on you.
Well, they might not.
Yeah.
Lily is our cat. Now, WrestleMania. We're almost done. We're almost at the end of this. Let me just get my point out. Royal Rumble 2013. The Rock came back to challenge CM Punk for the title. At this point, CM Punk had held the WWE title for longer than anyone in the past 25 years, or the modern era, you know, beyond the days of people like Bruno Sammartino. CM Punk had held the WWE title for, you know, a singular stretch of time that was longer than, I was going to say Hogan then. I think Hogan held it for years, but longer than the likes of Stone Cold, longer than the likes of The Rock, longer than the likes of Bret Hart, of Shawn Michaels, of Triple H, of John Cena. CM Punk held the title for 434 days, and it was great. You know, a historic run. He held it from, I think, Survivor Series 2011 to Royal Rumble 2013. Of course, he transitioned over to a heel in the summer of 2013, so that freshened him up a bit. I just felt like, considering The Rock came back and beat Punk at the Rumble for the title, if he was going to come back and win the title, I think he should have won it at Elimination Chamber. Because after he did beat CM Punk at the Royal Rumble, they had a rematch at the Elimination Chamber, which The Rock won as well. And I thought, if The Rock was willing to come back to face CM Punk on 2 consecutive pay-per-views, surely he'd let Punk win one of those matches, just so that Punk would have a win over him. It just, to me, seemed like the right thing to do. And it wouldn't have had to have been clean. It could have been like a sneaky win at the Royal Rumble, you know, Punk retains and then drops it the month after. It would have extended his, you know, his title reign, and it would have given him the rub of having said that he's beat The Rock. But then again, looking at it from, you know, a fan's perspective, 2014, when Punk kind of just took his ball and went home, I guess, you know, it doesn't really matter because he was leaving anyway. So that's just my.
He left us.
Yeah, and of course, Punk and Undertaker is surely now the last WrestleMania match that CM Punk will ever have. I can't see him coming back. In my opinion, I think he's too headstrong and stubborn, and yeah, I don't think he'll come back. So interesting, but it was a good match to go out on at WrestleMania. So John Cena, The Rock, the match itself. It was more of the same. It was very, very similar to the 28 match. I mean, yeah. What do you throw in about that?
The ending was good. Well, not the very ending, but the beginning is just the locks and it's the same again, you know. But then they started mocking each other again, like Rock doing the "Can't See Me" and Cena doing the
and that came towards the end
thingy.
Yeah.
And then it could have ended great. And then they kept going for another 30 seconds and...
Longer than that, a couple of minutes.
Yeah, well, yeah. And it ended in like a... What? Like, I went, what? Because I was thinking that they had such a great build-up and then they just dropped it.
Yeah.
And then they ended it.
I'll set it up. I mean, the match is going on. About halfway through, out of nowhere, The Rock, I think, hits the rock bottom. His finishing move. Pin Cena, 1-2 kick out. Now usually a finishing move in a match and you pin someone and they kick out, it's like, oh! This one, 1, 2, 2. The crowd they just knew it wasn't going to end like that. And when you hit finisher in a match and people know it's not going to be the end, then they just knew it was going to keep going and going, and then literally Cena just got up, hit him with the FU, pinned it, 1, 2, 2. They just hit that little kind of, the first 2 finishes they hit, just, it wasn't set up well, it just kind of happened out of nowhere and was just...
The finisher isn't the finisher anymore.
And then then Rock hits another rock bottom, kick out, and then the crowd a bit more into it, then Cena hits another AA, kick out, then another one. I think they hit each other's finishes about 3 times. Cena hit Rock with a rock bottom, and then Rock kicked out, and Cena was like... He was 2. He kicked out. It was just like so over the top, you know. It was like, yes, he kicked out Cena. There was some good stuff towards the end. They repeated the same ending from the WrestleMania 28 match. Only Cena kind of had learned from his mistake, and then he caught The Rock off guard, and that could have been a great ending, as you said. That's what you were referencing. Then The Rock kicked out again. It's like, and he's kicked out of a third fin. It's just like
that would have been.
They're overdoing this, and it's just. I really wish we can kind of get rid of this era of. Every big match, multiple finishes have to happen. And a finisher is supposed to finish a match. I remember back in the days when someone kicking out of a finisher was a big deal. And it made a match special. Now it's
you expect it to happen.
Now you expect it. It's just part of any big match. Yeah, it's just a move. It becomes down to just a move, and it devalues it to a certain degree, I think.
If you don't do finisher 3 times in a match, you haven't really done it.
Yeah, it actually reminded me of playing SmackDown, you know, back in, you know, the 2000s. Just, you know, when you play against someone, you just hit finisher after finisher, kick out, you know, just meaningless almost up to a point. That being said, it wasn't a bad match. To me, it was very similar to the WrestleMania 28 match. It was a pretty good match, but for me, it wasn't standout or spectacular, you know. So yeah, that's it really. Anything you want to add about it? At the end of the match, you know, Cena beat Rock, and it was just as we expected, you know. Cena won the Rumble, challenged The Rock for the title, and some funny signs in the crowd. One was twice in a lifetime, which was, people kind of ragged on them a lot for that, for calling the first match once in a lifetime.
Cena wins, lol.
Yeah, that's the next one I was going to talk about, or just mention.
I took it away from you.
Yeah, you did, but that was good because it kind of brings you into it a bit more. Because I just waffle on. There's a lot I want to say about it. Yeah, well, that's true. And finally, The Rock, was stood in the ring, and Cena was saying some stuff to him. We couldn't hear what he was saying, and then we clearly saw what The Rock was saying. The Rock said to Cena, he said, "This is why I came back. This moment right now. For them," points to the crowd. "For them," points to like the guys in the back, "and for you." And then he said thank you, and they hugged, and then Cena left the ring, and Rock kind of almost looked kind of bit peeved. I don't know, he just didn't seem that satisfied. And then he kind of was like, thank you, to the crowd, and like, I love you and all this, and then he walks back.
No, he said, I love you.
Yeah, he's sticking his tongue up.
I love you.
Well, he's got to make sure that they can see what he's saying. And he goes back up to the ramp, and Cena's waiting there with the title, with a big grin on his face. Well, no, he'd never grin on his face. He's waiting at the top of the ramp for him, and The Rock smiled, and then The Rock held his hand up like that, one like that. Cena's holding the belt up, fireworks go off, people are booing, they don't want to see it, and then The Rock leaves, and then Cena's like, "The champ is here!" It's just like, I know it's his character, but when Cena's had a big pay-per-view match, and it's like grueling, he's been hit by 3-4 finishes, and then he wins, and he's just like, yes. He doesn't sell the effects of the match at all. He's not like, yes, it was a hard-fought victory. He's just like, yeah, that was good. I beat The Rock. Yeah, big grin.
Well, Rock wasn't really selling his torn abdominal.
Yeah, apparently he torn his abdominal muscle or something like that. And I know that it was the same injury that Mick Foley had, where he kind of said it was the worst pain he ever felt and couldn't even continue the match.
Mick Foley.
So I kind of think, I kind of call bullshit on that. I think maybe The Rock was just realised that the match wasn't as great as it should have been, and that he wasn't really at his best. And I personally think that's because of all the bulk he put on. He's a lot bigger than he was when he used to wrestle, so his conditioning wasn't there. He was out of breath, you could tell at times, and so it was it was pretty good, but it wasn't the great matches that we'd seen Rock put on in the past. And I think he kind of knew that, and I think he probably decided to call it a day then, because the plan was for him to set up a feud with Brock Lesnar the night after on Raw, but he just went home. I remember it was a big talking point, the fact that Rock wasn't there, and people wondering what's going on. And then Rock was interviewed a few months later, and he said, yeah, the plan was to do me and Brock next year. And the person interviewing him was saying, well, is that going to happen? Are you going to wrestle again? He's like, I don't know, maybe that was a good time to end it. So I think, The Rock probably thought, I'm going to cut my losses while I can and call it a day. But hopefully we'll see him again, in a kind of appearance capacity. As much as his promos were grating on me during his whole return. But I'm glad he came back. I think it was cool. It wasn't as big as it could have been. It wasn't as iconic as it should have been, but
I still wish he would be at this one when we're going.
Yeah, of course, I'd love to see him live. I mean, I rag on him, but it was cool. And
that's when we see him on TV. If seeing him live would be like fans forever.
Yeah, of course, that's the thing. It's very easy to sit at home and judge, but when you're there live in person, it's a lot different. I'm sure.
I'm sure we're even going to be excited to see Batista.
Yeah, that's another thing. So
that's I don't like saying it, but that's probably what's going to happen. I was a fan of Aaron Carter for a week because I met him. Aaron Carter. He gave me a hug. Of course I was a fan. Jesus. Fun being 15. Aaron Carter.
It's going back now, isn't it?
Huh. That was last time I was in the States.
There you go. Maybe you'll see him again.
No.
So
no, his brother was in town.
Who?
Backstreet Boys.
Nick Carter. The Backstreet Boys were here recently. So yeah, I thought it was very cool Rock came back. I appreciate what he did, that he came back to put over Cena eventually, but I still think he probably could have done a few of the wrestlers the favour. But it was cool. And that was WrestleMania 29. A pretty damn good one. I loved the arena, I loved the setup, I thought it was a pretty good show. Even Triple H Brock Lesnar I enjoyed. It was better than the other matches they had. So yeah, that's WrestleMania 29. And
it's over.
Yeah, while you're watching this, if you are watching this the day it's released, me and Connie will currently be at the Access Convention Center, meeting hopefully some good wrestlers, hopefully not some average, mediocre wrestlers.
Divas.
Yeah, our divas. And we'll be getting ready for the Hall of Fame tonight, as you're watching this. This is currently the 15th of March, and we're about to leave in a few days for our big trip. We're leaving a few weeks before WrestleMania starts. So
my stomach started hurting a little bit then.
So, there will be a final 30 Days of Mania WrestleMania 30 video, but it won't be probably until maybe the middle of April, where we'll sit down in these two chairs here and we'll do the exact same thing we've done before.
Wait, we're not going to review it until we get home?
No, we'll talk about it while we're there, but we'll do a video for this series where we just talk about the key moments of matches, just like we've done the past 29 WrestleManias. Before we do that, anything you want to add about the whole experience we've done over the past month and a half that we've been doing this?
Honestly, I didn't think we were going to go through it.
I didn't either, but yeah, we really ploughed through those first 10 or 15, slowed down a bit, but then we kept up with it.
You've been very determined.
Yes, I have. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of want to watch a few of the other matches from some of them, so, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been unrealistic to watch the full shows because you're looking at 3 to 4 hour.
Yeah, and that's all I have every evening.
Yeah, so
coming home.
But it was good. I really enjoyed it. It was
Not
cool.
even that.
It was cool for me to see some of the earlier WrestleManias I'd never seen, some of the matches I'd never seen before, and to revisit the matches that I have enjoyed in the past. And this is officially the longest video of the series, so we did go a bit over 20 minutes on this one, but that's okay. Thank you for watching. And enjoy WrestleMania 30 tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be a good one. Hopefully we'll have a good time. And the right person will end the show with the belt, the championship. Time will tell.
It's not going to be the right person.
Yeah!
See, I say that I'm happy about seeing everyone. It will be cool, but that won't be a cool moment.
No.
Everybody will be like,
deal with it. Alright, thank you for watching. And we'll see you with the next video.
ding ding ding.